Hey everyone, Alex Sanfilippo here. Welcome back to Podcasting Made Simple. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by Julie Solomon. Julie, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this idea of messaging. I'm going to get to that in a second, but real quick, I just want to reference for everybody that Julie has done an incredible job in the online space. I encourage you to check out what she's doing. Two things in particular, real quick here, is check out her book, which is Get What You Want, and her podcast, the Influencer Podcast. So she's got a best-selling book and a highly rated podcast. I've checked out both personally, and I'm not even like her ideal avatar client, but I'm telling you, it's really high quality, and I've learned from it. So I encourage everyone to go check that out. But what I really want to get into here today is the actual messaging side of things, and that's because when I really got to know just Julie's brand, what she does, what really stood out to me the most is that she is like the best messaging expert I've ever seen. And that's going to be our focus today. I really want to get into that. And the reason I think that this is going to be so important is because I see a lot of wrong perspectives in podcasting, both as guest and host. And I'll share that real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to Julie. But the wrong perspective I see is this, and it's podcast guest and host saying this. I want to get more out of podcasting. So I need to get more content out there, more episodes. I need to be on more episodes as a guest. I need more listeners. I need to be on podcasts with more listeners. I need a bigger audience. And then, of course, always, then I need more content for people to take action on. I need more funnels. I need more sales tactics. I need more different pages for them. These are the wrong perspectives I hear a lot in podcasting. And Julie, I want to turn over to you now to just talk about this and kind of give us a reframe of a mindset of what is far superior than this.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much for having me. I could literally talk about this stuff all day long. And I do come by it honestly. I've been in the online space since 2013. Before that, I was in corporate America as a publicist. I majored in digital media and journalism with a minor in PR and marketing. So this is all I've ever known to do. And really, being able to now work with so many online entrepreneurs, helping them on these foundations is truly a dream for a multitude of reasons. But one of the reasons so much is that it reminds me every single day the importance of the simplicity of foundations. And that's really where messaging comes in. So we can just get straight to the point. Most people come to me because they think that, like you just said, they have a follower problem or a lead problem or a sales conversion problem or a content creation problem, or, if I could just get more of X, Y, and Z, then I could make more sales and I could be more successful. But really, none of those are the problems. 10 times out of 10, the problem is the messaging. There is something that is missing in your messaging and you're ready to fix it. And so that is where I typically come in. And so I think it's probably important to first kick things off by first clarifying the difference between messaging and content, because it's not a lot of times what people think that it is. And it's also the key to turning things around. So I always say that messaging is the foundation. I learned this very early on in my journalism classes in college. It is the core narrative that defines how your ideal client, and really how anyone, perceives the transformation that you offer and really the depth of your genius and your authority. So that is what messaging is. And then we have content. So content like your Instagram post or your sales pages or your sales scripts or your funnel emails or your podcast, that is just the tactical execution of the messaging. So when you think about it, like the messaging is the engine of the car, the content may be in the driver's seat. If your messaging isn't clear, if it isn't specific, and if it isn't aligned, you're not going to see the sales growth that you're desiring, the leads that you're desiring, the followers that you're desiring, or the money that you're desiring, no matter how much more stuff you create. And so I'm a big believer in less is more, and really making our content work harder for us than we do for it. And that is why the messaging is so important to make that happen. And a lot of times I'll, tell my clients or my ideal clients, Alex, I'll say, if I plopped 150 of your ideal clients into your world today, like, would you be ready to sell them? Would anything make a difference? And a lot of times it's like, no. And the reason why is because of that messaging piece. So that's really where it all begins, because content will only work for you if it's built on a well defined message. Even the best funnels in the world won't convert if the core messaging isn't strong. And so that's really why so many people don't see the results that they want. That's why that they tend to focus on creating more things instead of just really focusing in on refining the messaging. And so that's where we can kind of kick off today's conversation.
Yeah, Julie, I love that. And if I can just wish something on my past self, it would have been to have met you about 4.5 years ago. I run a software company called PodMatch, and I have always thought until the last year that the problem, and we don't have a problem, and I'm very thankful for that, so I shouldn't say that, but the biggest area for us to improve was more leads, more people funneling in, more and more and more. And then when I finally broke into the data and like really got into it, I realized, you know what, we have a conversion problem. I'm like, we convert at, I'd say, industry standard in the software space, so SaaS, software as a service. But I realized that the product we have is done really well and it serves people really well, so it should convert higher. And we
Mm-hmm.
recently looked at the pages, like the conversion page. There's one in particular. The messaging on it is shameful. To me, someone who wrote it first 4 years ago or 4.5 years ago when we started and never went back and changed it. And it's one of those things that's like, man, I don't need to have more lead funnels and pay for more leads and bring more people to it. I just need to convert who's showing up better. And again, you talk about how this whole idea of less being more, and I think that is so freeing for any creator online, because we get in this mindset of more is more and more is better. But the reality is, less of the right thing gives you a better result. And again, I wish I would have had you 4.5 years ago to help me with that. But I love that you're sharing that. And you talk about this foundation of messaging, and that's really what I want to get into here now. And I've heard you say that we don't have a content problem; we have a messaging problem. And the strength of your messaging dictates the results that you'll receive. And that's what I really want to dive into two specific points today. And I know you've got so much more wisdom to this, and I'll have more for everyone afterwards where they can find everything that you do. But I want to get into this idea of specialization and then visibility. So I'm going to turn it over to you with this idea of specialization. What is this within our messaging?
Yeah, so specialization is really the key in making sure that our genius clearly connects to the ideal clients that need it the most. And I think that in this online space, we have gotten so um, used to or so complacent to think that the more that we can just spread out, right? The more that we can be shallow and wide, the more people that we're going to reach and the more transformation that we can create. But if I can give you like a visual connotation of what specialization to me is if you think about a field, do you want to take a bunch of seeds, and throw them out, and maybe you'll grow some wildflowers and maybe they'll be pretty? Or do you want to take an acorn and plant it deeply in the ground and watch this beautiful oak tree grow? And so for me, I knew very early on that I wanted to be the oak tree and not the field of wildflowers that could get wiped away at any storm that was going to come through. I wanted to, have that mighty foundation and that root system to help me sustain. And the way that you get that is through specialization. No one wants to work with a generalist. If you had a problem with your knee and you went to a doctor, would you want to go to a doctor that specialized in the exact knee problem that you were having in your kneecap? Or would you want to go to the local doctor who also does dentistry on the side? You would want to go to the specialist, and you would also probably pay a premium rate for that specialist. And so we all know these things conceptually, right, Alex? Like, we all know that, we all get that. But for some reason, when it comes to our messaging and when it comes to then creating content to support that messaging online, a lot of us tend to fall back in that generalist category. We tend to want to talk to everybody, to cast the wide net, to really want to make sure that we don't leave any stone unturned. And when we do that, we forget and we kind of get lost into, am I effectively articulating my genius? And am I really rooting in on a micro level of what it is that I specialize in? And that's really the first question that I would pose to anyone that's listening to our conversation today, is just to be able to simply ask yourself, what do you specialize in? Not what your niche is, not what you sell, but like, what do you actually specialize in? What are you so flippin' good at that somebody would feel silly to say no to what it is that you're offering? And that is really your unique advantage. That's someone's UVP, their unique value proposition. That is what's going to make you stick out among the saturation. And let's just take a commonly taught topic, right? Like messaging, for example. There is nothing special about messaging. There's nothing special about marketing. You know, I am one of many, many, many people out in the world that teach on messaging and marketing. But it is my specialized way of doing it, my frameworks, my experience that has allowed me to build my strategic elements, my unique lens of how I can see a sentence and know how to flip it on its head to attract the exact buyer that you're wanting to call in. It's those unique little micro points that make me not better than anybody, but it makes me specialize in what it is that I do. And so that is really the one of the first things that someone that's listening, if they feel like they may be having a messaging problem, really start to get honest with yourself and even do a bit of a content audit to think about when you write your emails, when you go to, post that next podcast episode, when you go to post that reel, how specialized are you being in that content? And obviously, when we talk about specialization, we also have to talk about authority. Because if you are a specialist at something, if you are specializing in something, then that means that you also have the authority to teach it, to share it, to really create impact around what you are giving to your ideal clients. And so this is also where authority-driven messaging also comes in. And really making sure that you're letting people know that you're not the best at what you do, but you're the only person that they need to help solve their problems. And so that's where the specialization piece comes in.
You know, I immediately think to something I've heard you say before. You talk about your words plus your energy make your messaging work. And because I think when you're saying this, a lot of people are probably hearing it like, okay, cool. I'll just go find like the top podcaster in my space or the person who's getting on every big podcast, and I'll just kind of copy their words and I'll use those, right? And people forget that our unique energy is part of what makes it specialized. It's what makes it unique. It's what makes it different. Can you talk about how this process works from, like, I guess, discovering that within, if that's even the right way to say it?
Yeah, and I'll give you an analogy that I think a lot of us could probably relate to. If there's anyone out there that, maybe they've gotten, comments on Instagram, or maybe they've seen, reviews come in on their podcast and they say things like, "You're so inspiring," or "I love your work," or "You're on my vision board to work with one day," but then they don't buy from you. That is a direct indicator that you may have the right words, but the energy, the discernment, the confidence that needs to come behind that to really own your specialization and own your authority is not coming through. And so you can try to, maybe copy somebody else's sales page all day long, but if you're not first honoring and owning your own conviction and your authority, it's going to fall flat. And that is one of the biggest pieces that is going to get anybody that's listening to this from the "you're so inspiring" post to the "oh my gosh, I have to hire you today, how can I work with you" type of conversations, is again with that authority piece. And the more that you can root into what it is that you specialize in, what problem do you solve, and are you effectively articulating that with every piece of content that you create, the more that you're going to start to see that shift.
This makes me think of a real life situation I've had. And Julie, I wonder if you've had something similar. There's someone in my life, close, so I'll leave them nameless, who I had given the same advice to like for 7 years. It's just always like the same thing. They're running in the same problem. I was like, if you did this, it'd work really well. If you did this, and it's always the same thing. And they always bring back up, and it's this like repeat cycle. And then one day, this person approached me and goes, "Alex, guess what? My friend so-and-so, they just gave me this advice." And they go on to repeat almost word for word what I've been telling them for 7 years. And I just stand there like, "I'm going to smack you." Of course, I don't say that. I'm like, "Wow, that's great. Like, that's really good advice. You should take it." And it's one of those things that our unique voice and the way we show up, it just means like I wasn't saying it in a way that this individual could fully articulate it, but someone else was able to. And I think that that's what that unique energy and that unique message that you have really brings. Have you ever had anything like that happen? I don't know if I'm alone in that, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're definitely not alone in that. And that's, again, another indicator of, wow, what I am trying to get across is not, what I'm laying down is not being picked up. And, it's a good awareness piece for us to have that, because no matter how long you do this and no matter how much you refine your messaging or whatever it may be, there's always going to be a level up. And one of the things that I love to teach my clients is a framework that I have called momentum messaging that actually speaks to exactly what you're talking about. And there's 4 very simple components when it comes to momentum messaging to make sure that you're actually landing what it is that you want to land, that what you're putting out there is actually getting received by the people that you want it to. And there's a little caveat to the 4 steps before we get there. I'm going to go off the basis that those that are listening are already speaking to exactly who their offer is for, because why would we speak to a bunch of people who we're not meant to serve, and we don't create offers for people that we don't want to work with. So I'm going with that assumption that you're already speaking to exactly who your offer is for, and that your offer is really good, really top-notch, irresistible. It's a solution that is the perfect fit for the needs of your ideal client. So with that to say, the 4 steps that you can use in this framework to make sure that we can avoid those moments that can happen is in momentum messaging is first, movement. The messaging or the content that you're creating or the conversation that you're having should lead this person somewhere, ideally to where you want them to go. The next thing that it needs to have is what I call so-but transitions. So-but transitions in a piece of copy, this is kind of a copywriting tip, if you will. It's what actually allows us to create forward movement with those words so-but. So instead of saying something like, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and kind of like listing a laundry list of things, you would create a piece of content that would sound something like, so this happened, but then this happened. So then I did this, but then that happened. So then next, and it creates this more captivating, forward-moving story in the energy of your copy. So that's the second thing. The third thing, we've all heard it, it's got to have an emotional hook. You've got to speak to the emotional desires, not just the facts and not just the pain points that your ideal client has, but the actual desires of where do they want to go and how do you or your offer get them there. And then, of course, a call to action. Every piece of content that you should create, I don't care if it's a podcast episode or a reel or an email, should direct someone to a next step. And if you've got those 4 things, movement, so-but transitions, emotional hooks, and a call to action in every piece of content that you create, you cannot lose, you will not lose, and I promise you, you will start seeing a difference in who you're calling in and really the caliber and quality of client that you start to call in.
Julie, that's so good. And think about that last part, the call to action side of it. Before we move on to the visibility side, I actually want to bring this up, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I didn't plan on bringing this up, but you sometimes talk about this idea of like, I think you posted something where you said, I don't do freebies anymore. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about the importance of just attracting only your ideal client. And so I think in call to action, I think many of us, that's where we go wrong, because we're like, okay, I need a call to action that's different for all these different groups of people. But you've just straight up said, I'm not even making nothing for free anymore, right? Can you just share a little bit about like the idea behind this and why that could be a good idea for us?
Yeah. So obviously this will be, dependent on your business model. I've got a lot of clients who it makes sense for them to have freebies, so they do have freebies. But for me and who my ideal client is, essentially, I don't work with people that are just getting started. I don't work with people that are completely new to like, how do I get on social media, Julie? How do I know what my purpose is? How do I know what my unique value is? I don't have an offer yet. How do I create that? I don't work with people at that stage. Now, there are a lot of incredible people out there that do, so I don't need to worry about serving those people. I know that they are better served by the people that are meant to serve them. So when I got really honest with myself about that, and I just asked myself, I said, if I put myself in the mind and the heart of my ideal client, if I'm really being honest with myself, is she sitting around her phone or sitting around her laptop today downloading a bunch of freebies on how to scale her business? No, she's not. Now, she might have been doing that 4 or 5 years ago when she started her business, but at the stage that she's at now, which is the stage I serve, I help people go from good to exceptional, from good to great. She's not looking for freebies on what I teach her, which is messaging strategy, marketing strategy, and how to scale an online business. And when I got honest with myself about that, it just lessened this load, and it gave me this just breath and this sigh of relief, because it's like, oh, now, like I just said, I don't have to create offers for people that I'm not meant to work with. I don't have to force myself to create freebies because that's what the online marketing space tells you to do. So when I was talking to my clients about this, I had a client ask me, and I'm sure people are thinking this, well, Julie, how do you grow your email list if you don't have freebies? Well, I'm still growing my email list. I'm just growing it with only quality clients of mine. I'm not just growing it with a bunch of people who are going to sit on my email list collecting dust, never buying anything from me. And so, again, it's about quality, not quantity. And so, this is where you really have to get honest with yourself of like, okay, do vanity metrics matter to me? Because, hey, if they do, there's no shame in that. Just own it and honor it. Am I playing the high volume mass game? Am I Walmart? Am I going low ticket, high volume, and I'm going to need to have the ad budget and the strategies to support that? Or am I going more, maybe low mid to high or mid to high ticket and kind of only working with a small corner of the internet? And when I got really clear with myself, I knew that I could make much more impact by just serving my small corner of the internet. You don't have to have 1 million followers to make millions of dollars. I've proven that year over year. But I can really serve my people best and really serve them at a premium quality level when I clear out my own clutter and I only create offers, whether they're free or not. I only create podcast episodes. I only create actual, programs. I only coach the people that I am truly meant to serve. And so even now with my podcast is free and will always be free. I guess if I had a freebie, that would be my freebie, is my podcast, at least for me. But I even make sure that everything that I talk about on that podcast, even though it's quote unquote free, is for my exact client. I feel like in the online space, I mean, I've been in this for since 2013, so I feel like I can say this, but I feel like we've kind of been lied to. We've been told that we've got to create low ticket offers for low ticket people, and then mid ticket offers for mid ticket people, and high ticket offers for high ticket people. And when I got honest with myself, I was like, why am I doing that? I don't serve beginner people. And just because it's low ticket doesn't mean that it has to be low value. So I completely restructured my entire offer positioning, which of course the messaging had to be restructured around all of that. And now I teach a lot of my clients how to really just meet their client where they are, whether they are a quote unquote low ticket client or a high ticket client, whether their client is just getting started in their industry or field or whatever it is that they serve them in, or whether they are specializing in something a little bit more high level. Give yourself the permission and the gift of, again, making your offers work harder than you work for them, and only creating offers for people that you genuinely are meant to serve and genuinely want to work with.
Julie, that's a real, you had 10 mic drops in there, so we can just say bye to everyone else. See, everybody, this was great being here with y'all. That's amazing. So many great points there. And it's actually a great segue into talking about visibility a little bit, because I think it really ties into it, which is this is us positioning our message so that we can be found by those ideal listeners or the people that we most say that we can serve. Can you talk more about getting our visibility right? Kind of segueing off what you just shared, because I think it kind of goes hand in hand quite a bit.
Yeah. So, I think at first, you have to get clear on what your goal is when it comes to visibility, because visibility can be a lot of things. Are you somebody who wants visibility because you want to grow more of a thought leadership platform, right? Maybe you want to get a book deal one day. Maybe you want to start speaking on stages. Maybe you want to, be on panels or kind of do more of that track. Do you want visibility because you want to be internet famous? And there's nothing wrong with that either. Do you want to have a big YouTube account with millions of subscribers? Do you want to be known as that content creator or that person on Instagram or on TikTok that people go to for certain things? Do you want the visibility to be, the biggest podcast in the space? What is your goal? And depending on what your goal is, there's different types of visibility tracks, if you will, that you would want to focus on. And so for my clients, and what they tend to focus on is the personal branding and the thought leadership track. I've got a lot of people that they're wanting to build an online platform to of course, serve and create impact and, be able to provide for their families and make great money, so that they can then leverage that for higher impact opportunities. And that typically comes with the book deals and the speaking opportunities and things like that. And so in order to get there, you really do have to be intentional on how are you leveraging certain visibility opportunities on social media and with the media. And I would consider podcasts being like this digital media opportunity now to really put yourself out there. And so that's really the first step with visibility, is getting clear on like what and why. And then the next step would be, based on that what and why, where do you really need to kind of, what eggs do your baskets need to go in, so to speak? And does that answer your question? Because I can kind of like go from there, but I wanted to lay that first.
Yeah, no, it does. I'd love, you know what, this is, keep on going. This is really good. I'm loving this, and I'm going to go back and listen and take notes later. I'm not taking notes right now, but I hope everyone else is grabbing all this. But please keep on going with that.
So I'm going to kind of stick with the lens of like the personal branding and thought leadership track then. The thing that I see happen a lot of times with people who are focusing on visibility is that they don't first lay the messaging and business foundation that is needed to get that. And not to say that you can't, quote unquote, get lucky and start speaking on stages before you've laid a strong personal brand foundation, or maybe you self-publish a book, or maybe you get some kind of book deal, but it's not always sustainable. And, you know, again, because I've been in this industry for so long, I've seen, you know, people, and I have, you know, references that, you know, I think did it the right way, because 15 years later, they're still here moving and shaking in their prime and at the top, and really being seen as someone that of authority that people look up to, versus the one that kind of come and go and then you don't ever hear from them again. And so to me, when I think about visibility, it's really about that sustainability piece. How do I do this in a way that I don't burn out? How do I do this in a way that I don't have a peak? Because there's only one way to go once you reach the top of Mount Everest, and it's down. So how do you do it in a way where there's always a level up, there's always an opportunity to create an impact and to create growth, and to really make sure that you are getting out of it what you're wanting to gain? And so if you're wanting to write a book, for example, which I've done, or start to speak on some bigger stages, start to be seen as a thought leader in that way, I think that it's vital. I'm going to put my publicist hat on here for a minute, to really make sure that you are laying in a foundation of being known for something. So I'll give you like a really fun analogy. When Amazon first became Amazon, what did they sell?
Just books.
What do they sell now?
I think everything.
Right. And why? Because they became the absolute best at selling books first. You see this happen a lot in Hollywood. Let's take Lady Gaga, for example. What did she do when she first got started? She was a singer. She was a pop star. What does she do now? Well, she wins Academy Awards. She's in movies. She has a makeup line. She can pretty much do anything and everything that she wants because she became the absolute best at something first. And so this, again, is where specialization and visibility connect. And we've talked a lot about specialization, but this is where I love to really work with my clients on, okay, you're building a business, you get your clients great results, all of that is great. How are we positioning you as being known in your industry as the absolute best at what it is that you do? Because we're going to have to spend some time there, even though I know that everybody wants to fast track it to the New York Times bestsellers list. We've got to spend some time there to really root in that genius, really root in that public perception, because that is what is going to get you the interest in the eyes of the publishing houses. That is what's going to get you the interest in the eyes of these conferences and these people that, you know, are looking to you to speak. So let's really work on you becoming the absolute best at what it is that you do, and also becoming known for that. And that is where things like messaging comes in, but then how you're getting that messaging out there. Podcast is a great way to build a foundation to become known as the best in your field. I don't think that it is coincidence that I started my podcast in 2017 and got a book deal in 2018. Now, I had been in the online space since 2013, and then before that, I was, you know, a publicist in corporate America since 2007. So by the time I got my book deal, I had 10 years of experience in two different industries to really kind of back that up. But, you know, HarperCollins reached out and said, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. Have you ever thought about writing a book? And so there's no coincidence that a platform like that created the visibility that was needed and necessary for me to shape the perception of becoming known for what I do, which is messaging mastery and marketing. And then from there, what then happens? Speaking opportunities open up, opportunities to start to network with people in your industry, higher level mastermind invitations. All of these things can start opening up for you when you really allow yourself to root in to become known as a genius at what it is that you do and somebody at the top of their game. And so I really love to help people fast track it, but also really spend time rooting into that piece, because I think that that is the biggest piece if you're wanting to leverage sustainable visibility and branding over time.
Julie, I love that you just tied our specialization and visibility together. Like, that was such a great job. And talking about like fast tracking it, I do want to just quickly share this because I think that giving everyone a glimpse who's watching, listening to this, like, I want you to dive deeper into what Julie does. So I'm just going to give a call to action for Julie today. She has something called the Visibility Accelerator. Speaking of fast tracking, this is how you do that. If you go to juliesolomon.net/VA, V visibility, A accelerator. So juliesolomon.net/VA. It's going to really help you get the fundamentals of your messaging right, which ultimately is your influence. And once you kind of get this fixed, you're going to see the results really start to shift for you. And so again, I really encourage everyone to check this out. Julie, this has been an incredible conversation. I've learned a lot from this today, and you were just so brilliant. Like I said, you're the best messaging expert I've come across. Before we end our time together, do you have any final thoughts for everyone with us today?
I think final thoughts would just be to really emphasize the importance of positioning and knowing that that starts with clear messaging. And when I know that this is, a podcast platform here. And so I want people, when they think about their podcast, to really think about it as an extension of their brand's unique value proposition. And when they're really rooting in on creating more and more and more, just think about, how can I make this one episode so quality that somebody actually comes back and listens to it 2, 3, 4 times, somebody actually shares it, versus creating 5 episodes in a week and somebody may be listening to 10% of each episode. So that's when I really talk about, how can you get so micro, so specific in your genius and what really makes you stand out, because I promise you the consistency with just that will allow you to really start seeing a lot of that revenue and visibility growth that you're looking for.
Julie, that's such a brilliant way to end this. And I just want to reinforce that, actually. I did this with Julie's podcast. The first time I listened to one of her episodes, that same day, I shared it with somebody because they brought up something. I'm like, I just heard a true expert say something about this, and I sent that episode along after I listened to it. And so whether you're a guest or a host, show up in the best possible way saying, can I make this so that other people would be so moved by it, they want to share it with somebody else. So again, Julie, thank you so much for your wisdom being with us today. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.